Happy Sunday, everyone. Today is the 25th of June, 2023. We had a good service up at Sovereign Grace Baptist Church in Joplin today with Michael Smith. And today Mark's continuing to read from the book Phillips versus the State of Missouri. Today he's going to be reading chapters 4 through 5. If you would like a copy of this book, you can go to larrywphillips.com, go to our contact section, request the book, and I'll send you a PDF copy. Today he's going to be reading chapters 4 through 5 in the book, and I'll turn it over to him.
Chapters Phillips versus State of Missouri, chapters 4 through 5. Chapters 4, the battle lines are drawn between God and Satan. Chapter 4, the battle lines are drawn between God and Satan. Phillips versus State of Missouri, chapters 4 through 5. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and the power of his might. Ephesians 6:10. How should a Christian respond when they know they're being asked to do something that not only goes against their conscience, clear revealed word of God? The answer should be obvious to all who are in the family of God, right? Well, sometimes our response does not always line up with our convictions. The Bible tells us when we do something that we know is wrong, and then to us that becomes sin. It's getting ready to face tremendous temptation that if I gave into it, it would probably secure my career, but if I resist this thing, it would probably bring a career down, possibly for me financially as well. Remember the day as if it were today. I was sitting at my desk typing up a home study for some new foster parents who were soon going to be approved. A co-worker who was new in the agency often came to me for advice and suggestions. She approached my desk and asked if I had a minute. I said yes, and I noticed that she was visibly upset. She asked, "What is your position about licensing homosexual couples?" I asked her why she was asking me this. She stated that she had been directed to license a lesbian couple without even going through the standard background checks, etc., and she was struggling with the matter. I had never encountered this before and was surprised that this was being asked of her. I stated it was my understanding the state's position was not to license those alternative lifestyles, i.e. may engage with lesbians. I also stated if I were directed to do so, I could not for two reasons. A principle: first, that sodomy is still legal in the state of Missouri. This would be endorsing the illegal activity, and second, this was a personal faith-based religious issue, and I could not do so, for doing so would result in my conscience being bound. My co-worker went on to say that she was afraid of retribution if she didn't know our supervisors or supervisor's directive. She stated that there were two lesbians living together in a home, and she wondered how a staffing situation would turn out. The couple were staffed to one of our routine staff meetings. Typically what we would do is have 5 or 6 social workers listen to the home study on the prospective foster parent, then voice her concern possibly and negatively on the viability of prospective foster parent for licensure. Her concern was that I might voice my objections to licensure of these foster parents. She knew I was a Christian and would take a position based on my religious beliefs. After this conversation with this coworker, I found myself in about 15 minutes in the office of my immediate supervisor. The subject came about licensing those who were gay and lesbian. I indicated to my supervisor that I would go out and do the assessments and home stays on these candidates. I cannot endorse them as foster parents or place children in their homes. My supervisor became furious. She stated as a state employee I would be asked to do many things that would go against my personal beliefs. This is part of my job function to be open-minded as a social worker. She also indicated I would follow her directives. If I did not, I would be considered unsubordinate. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I asked her if conscientious objectors would consider them subordinate. Following the dictates of their conscience, this made her even more upset. The result, within about 30 minutes, I found myself in my supervisor's office. The lady next in the chain of command stated, "It has been brought to my attention that your police are getting in the way of your doing your job effectively." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. These are the same two supervisors recommended me for state paid master's program. I took several deep breaths and reiterated what I had already told my immediate supervisor. On behalf of the home studies and assessments on homosexual candidates and foster parent licensing, but I could not endorse them for fostering or place children with them. The second supervisor up the chain of command and asked if I had thought about seeking another career. I went home that evening knowing my career was in jeopardy. I have never considered myself a political animal. In fact, I had always been somewhat passive concerning my political beliefs up to this point. My philosophy had to live and let live. I did not condone the homosexual lifestyle by any means. My philosophy had been it was those people's business what they did. In the privacy of their own homes, my line drawing came when I was directed. Part of my job function to do something that went contrary to law. My personally several weeks I often thought of the verse of Matthew 18:6. Whoso shall offend one of these little ones, just believe in me, it were better for him than a millstone hanged about his neck, that he would drown in the depths of the sea. Chapter 5, push to support the homosexual agenda. Whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, that he would drown in the depth of the sea. Matthew 18:6. About 3 days later, I found myself on the 5th floor of the state office building, the same floor where our government has an office. I was in the office of the deputy coordinator of the Division of Family Services in the state of Missouri. Here I was, a lowly social worker, being questioned by the deputy coordinator of the whole state of Missouri. Sound like a broken record had I considered I was seeking another career. Why was I having such a tough time honoring my supervisor's decisions? I asked the deputy if the state of Missouri had a position on the licensure of homosexual. He merely waffled and stated that what we needed to do was best for agency at large. I left the meeting feeling beat up emotionally and spiritually. I had no idea of the spiritual warfare I was soon to be subjected to. Up to this point, my supervisors and I had a good working relationship. I could do nothing to please them. All my home studies were returned. The social workers in my unit got a memo that there would be no more group staffing for foster parents. They would all be done on a individual basis for licensed social worker and supervised individually. Almost all my work was now being returned and picked apart in the most incremental way. I still couldn't believe this was happening. Now I understood what the Apostle Paul meant when he said, "All that will live godly in Christ Jesus shall suffer persecution." When I was being prepared for battle number 4, my coworker had just gotten back from training for new employees. She handed me a brochure that she had received in training, and I was shocked. This was a brochure that was to be handed out to foster children. It was given to her by the same sexual supervisor in charge of child abuse and neglect who had made the comment to me earlier about the pedophile conference taking a 2-year-old foster child I was having a problem finding a broken home for. The brochure was pornographic on the front of the brochure, and the letters of message was clear. Don't F up. The brochure stated that sex between men with men, women with women, and men with women in all forms were okay. Also showed in graphical frontal duty how to use a condom. Said this is what they won't teach you in school. My coworker said that this was part of the AIDS awareness campaign for foster kids. I now realize this state-sponsored recruiting of foster children in homosexual lifestyle. I immediately realized that I must have been placed in this position for some reason of fight against evil onslaught. Instead of remaining quiet, I typed 2 memorandums to management. One was the CS 77 form deeming the state's form of issuing on the licensure of those in alternative lifestyles demanding the agency's policy. The other memo that I was drafting was a statement that I found that don't have a brochure tremendously offensive to myself, let alone to be handed out to foster children. I began to learn that several of the social workers in my former advocate fought homosexuals. In fact, the desk where I sat used to be occupied by homosexuals who soon to be leaving the agency for promotion. I didn't know that he was a homosexual when I was invited to his going away party. Another male social worker had offered to drive me and 2 other social workers to the state-sponsored function. I agreed to go with him, only later to find out that they were all homosexuals, 2 males and 1 female. How did I find out? On the way back to the state building, they stopped by a homosexual bookstore to pick up some material. What an embarrassment for a child of God. The same supervisor who put out this brochure was a member of ACT UP, a radical homosexual group. He found out that I had written a memo opposing his brochure. Started a long battle of retaliation against me. To show you how off the wall he was much earlier in his life, he had gotten angry with the city council of Kansas City because of their supposed apathy regarding AIDS education. He took it upon himself to take what he said was AIDS tainted blood and threw it on the council chambers in defiance against them. When I began to find all this information out, I now realized what I had been asked earlier by a Christian social worker. What are you doing down here? Certainly now for my daily survival in a very hostile work environment, the supervisor had a large poster outside his office entitled "What Causes Heterosexuality." Another homosexual co-worker had a cartoon of over his desk praising those who were coming out of the closet. I now found myself in cultural diversity training, which taught the supposed benefits, homosexual lifestyle, and intimate detail. This was mandated training for all states' employees. I also found myself in trainings that were seeking to define the family as a man, a woman, a woman, and a woman, or a man and a woman. I realized he needed not only the help of an all-powerful God, but also the help of my church. I was ordained deacon at a small local Baptist church in Kansas City. I took the brochure to my pastor, and he at first thought it was some kind of sick joke. Realized that the Division of Family Services was passing this out and began outraged and calling with the Congresswoman. This resulted in a meeting with her and my pastor. What I didn't know was that this would soon result in making not only local headlines in the Kansas City Star, but would find its way in the national media. I'll never forget the call I got from the Congresswoman whom I mentioned earlier, who was so very supportive of me through the ordeal that I was going through. This Congresswoman informed me that she had called a meeting of 4 state congressmen and herself the deputy state coordinator. The purpose of the meeting was to hold the state of Missouri Division of Family Services responsible, not only for the pornographic issue between distributed and the division, also the apparent attempt by leaders of the division to license homosexuals as foster parents. I was amazed to find myself in a meeting with these leaders in the state of Missouri. The deputy coordinator was very elusive and assured the congressperson's brochure would not continue to be distributed in the state of Missouri Division of Family Services were not taking position licensing those alternative lifestyles. The congressperson asked specifically in response to my CS 77 policy clarification requested regarding the licensure of homosexuals and foster parents. He promised to get a response back within the day. My son was now 16 years old. He had been working part-time local Burger King. I came home one evening and he seemed very distraught. He said, "Dad, we have to talk." He then proceeded to tell me that he experienced and continued clicking sensations in his head. I took him to a local emergency room. After much testing, it was discovered that my son had a very rare brain disease. Within 30 days from this time, my son was in a total debilitated state.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark, for reading that. Miracle that you can read today after what you've been through. It's a miracle in itself. May you all have a blessed day today.